Bienvenidos, bienvenidas, bienvenides. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode where we are speaking with Black and Latino Studies students about their experiences taking classes, minoring, and majoring in the department. We're going to get to know a little bit about them, why they chose to take classes in Black and Latino Studies, and see how BLS might play a role in their futures. So let's start off today. Right now with us, we have Kaitlyn Moran.
Hi.
And Isai Ajpacaja.
Hi.
So, Kaitlyn, why don't we start with you? Can you introduce yourself, tell us your major, your minor, and when you anticipate graduating?
So my name is Kaitlyn Moran. I am a junior, and I'm majoring in BLS Studies and minoring in Communication Studies. I plan to graduate in spring 2027, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If it takes an extra semester, so be it. It's better to be done than to worry about how quickly it happens, right? And when did you become a BLS major?
So I became a BLS major, I think it was last year, fall semester.
Okay. You didn't come in anticipating that, though. You ended up changing your major.
Yes, so I ended up changing my major. My major before was the Communication Studies, but then I decided to change it to BLS just because it was more interesting for me.
All right. Seems like a better fit. And Isai, tell us a little bit about yourself, your major, minor, and graduation.
My name is Isai Ajpacaja. I am a junior, and I anticipate to graduate of spring of 2027. My major is in psychology, and I'm minoring in LTS, Latino Studies.
All right. So, what you did was in Black and Latino Studies with the minor, you have the option to specialize in one or the other, and you leaned into the Latino Studies side, which is a great option for people out there listening to know that you have that choice. I guess the next thing I wanted to ask you is, when did you learn that Black and Latino Studies was more than just a couple of pathways courses and something, and that it was something that you could have a major in or could have a minor in, right? Because a lot of students come in, they take BLS 1003 or LTS 1003, and they don't think about it after that. So what were your initial thoughts on learning that you could actually study Black and Latino Studies?
At first, I found it very surprising because usually you don't really see any Latino classes or BLS classes. And one thing about me is that I want to learn more about my culture and about the history behind it. So I found a great opportunity to join BLS and LTS classes and make it my major.
And did you start with one of the 1003 classes?
I did. So my freshman year, you know how they basically make the schedule for you. I was put in a BLS class. It basically kind of intrigued me more because I realized that they did take classes for BLS and LTS. And since then, I always thought about it. And then my sophomore year, that's when I decided to make the change and make it my major.
All right. Awesome. Isai?
Well, my experience is I remember vividly before the start of my freshman year, I got my schedule. And I'm going to be honest, I did not look forward to the class because it looked from when I read the description, it looked kind of boring. And I still remember the class was from 12:50 to 2:05. And the first day of class, I came in and I actually enjoyed it. And then from there, I really was looking forward to the class. And I did learn a lot, especially one of the units where we learned about banana republics. I guess that's what kind of captivated me towards learning about my culture. And I ended up taking the next semester, I took a Latinas class. And I think that's what really reinforced that's what I want to minor in because I learned a lot in that class. I learned so many things about powerful women that have contributed a lot, not just to people from the Latino community, but from people of all sorts of communities. And it just captivated me more. And I'm more than happy with the decision I've made to minor in Latino studies. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, full disclaimer, Isai was in my intro class. And so I'm glad it proved to not be boring for you. But yeah, I think some of that is when you see that schedule that is maybe created for you that you didn't have a say in, and you're like, what am I getting into? Like, would I have picked this class if it were up to me, right? And, you know, Kaitlyn, you talked about wanting to learn more about your culture, and you're saying that, you know, once you realized that there was something and it clicked with you, you leaned into that. But I think a lot of students might, if they don't get put into one of those classes, they might not even like realize what it is they could learn in those courses. And I guess, Isai, you started answering this a little bit already, but could you speak a little bit more about like what made you decide to take the Latinas class? Like, was it just learning about Central America and the Banana Republics that we studied in class, or was there something else that made you decide to take that course and eventually become a minor in it?
Well, part of the reason was that the class was very interactive. It was very hands-on, so it wasn't just like your basic listen to the instruction, just take notes and just do homework. It was very interactive. It was very hands-on. I was able to apply like the readings, the content that was covered in lecture, and apply it with my hands and with my thoughts. And seeing tangible results just kind of made it enjoyable. I guess that was a big factor into me choosing the Latinas class, because the Latinas class was way more interactive as well. We got to choose our assignments, choose how much they are worth, and it was really fun. I didn't see the homework as a chore. I saw it as more like, I guess, me having fun, because I did have fun with those assignments. I guess, yeah, so.
I love that. Kaitlyn, I see you nodding. Can you speak a little bit more on that?
No, yeah, definitely. I like a more interactive class, and with Latino studies classes, I found that it's more like not exactly how he said, not boring. It was more engaging and interacting, just like creating presentations, doing like the research. It didn't feel like a chore. It just felt like something that you wanted to do.
And would you still say that there was like a good amount of effort and work that you put into the classes? Or was it just like fun and easy?
No, definitely. It was definitely fun for me because I personally like history. So I really find it fun and interesting to like just look into the like history of any country. So for me, it didn't really feel like it was just easy. It was just my choice, you know.
Got you. So it's not about easy for the sake of easy. It's like it was easier because it was something you enjoyed delving into and kind of doing the research.
Right.
Well, for me, there were some aspects that I guess I had to put effort, but not like in regards to what I was thinking or writing my thoughts down. It was more like the technical side. I remember when we were doing a bibliography, I think that's what I struggled with the most. I struggled with that the most. And I think even when I was taking the Latinas class, I did struggle with it. But I guess after a lot of repetition, I was able to get it down. So I would say it is fun, but there are just some aspects for me personally, like the technicality of it, that was challenging.
So some challenge, but maybe a challenge that, as you were saying, Kaitlyn, is a little more on the fun side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you speak about what Black and Latino Studies classes you've taken so far?
Oh, yeah. So I don't remember the class names exactly, but I do remember the professors. So I've taken, my freshman year, I took a BLS study with Shirley Reynoso. I think that was like an intro BLS class.
Yeah.
Then my sophomore year, I believe I took a class with Keisha Allen. I took 2 classes with her actually that semester. One was for carnival, something with carnival, and then one was like
The women of color?
Woman of color, yes.
Yeah.
And then for this semester, I'm taking the Cuban LTS class, and also, oh wait, I forgot. I also took 2 like Puerto Rican BLS classes.
Oh, great, yeah.
LTS classes, yes. And then this class, this semester, I'm taking the Cuban LTS class.
And so, what you're speaking to, you're taking the Cuban studies class, you've taken Puerto Rican studies classes. We offer a U.S.-Mexico border class. So there's a lot of different regional areas that we touch upon in our classes. Next semester, I'm teaching a contemporary Latin American fiction class. It's at night. So if any of you out there listening like night classes, it's going to be on Tuesdays from 6 to 9. But while a lot of our courses, especially the Latino studies courses, but also the Black studies courses, center around the diaspora and populations in the United States, we do actually look to Latin America. We do look to the African continent as well. We have a new professor starting with us in the fall who will be specializing in Black studies and Africa and the African diaspora. Isai, so besides the intro and the Latinas class that you had with me, what other class or classes have you taken?
I took a class last year. I honestly forgot the name of the course. I took that class, but I ended up dropping the course.
Okay, so not every course is for every person, whether it's your schedule interferes or, maybe it just doesn't match with what you're trying to focus on. But we do have a lot of other classes that you can study instead of that, right? And so now both of you are in the Cuban Studies class with me this semester. We were going to have another student with us today, Derek, who is not in that class, but who is also a minor in Black and Latino Studies. And I met him through the capstone course that we offer. So, Isai, you'll be up for the capstone in the fall semester, and you're planning on registering?
Yes.
Okay. That's great for people who are interested in minoring. You take your 2 elective courses and then you take that capstone. And Kaitlyn, are you going to take the capstone next semester or are you going to wait until the spring?
I already took it, I believe.
Oh, you did?
Yes. Yeah, I took that with Keisha Allen.
Okay.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, so that's something that we've also had happen in the department is people come in as minors and they take that capstone course and then they're like, wait, I have some electives. Why don't I take more courses? And they eventually end up majoring in it. So you're all set for that. That's great.
Yeah, I'm just filling up like some elective extra BLS classes.
Yeah, and I will tell you for the fall semester, we have nothing early in the morning for electives, I don't think, but we do have plenty of electives from 10:45 on until 9 o'clock at night. So lots of options for you there. And we tried to make it so that you can take as many as you are able to fit in your schedule. So I want to talk more about what happened within your classes. What are some experiences that you've had in your Black and Latino Studies classes that stood out to you? Maybe excursions or guest speakers, experiential learning or hands-on learning, any projects or topics, things like that.
Okay, yes. So yesterday, actually, in one of my BLS classes, Black Women Writers, we actually did a collage. Well, it was a more artistic kind of assignment that we did during class. Just like how in the Cuban Latino studies, we're supposed to do a zine or a collage, or it was a musical playlist that was based on 3 books that we have read. So we got to choose which book we can basically represent the artistic project. And I chose the collage, and I found it very interesting because she had brought all the materials and everybody was just so engaged and focused in their own little project. I did the collage and I did a digital collage, so I had the time to look for pictures and incorporate little quotes from the book. And I found that very peaceful and kind of stress free, just because I had finished with tests and midterms are coming up, so it kind of takes your minds off the stressful things in college.
Do you think that the sort of creative type projects are still rigorous, that you still end up putting a lot of effort into them?
Definitely. I think they can still be rigorous because you still had to put your thinking into it. You had to like either pull out a part from the story that like was significant to you, and then you had to write like a summary, basically kind of describing why you chose this artistic way of interpreting that scene from the book. So you still had to think and put thought into each little detail that you put.
Yeah, that's great. Isai, how about you? Any standout like moments in courses that you took?
For me personally, I like reading a lot. It's one of my hobbies. And I remember vividly, it was for our Latinas class where we were allowed to choose the readings as a group. I honestly felt like I saw like as something that was like, wow, because most of the time, like the readings are assigned by the professor, but having the autonomy to like choose a certain reading that I would enjoy, and it honestly made it feel like I was reading because I was rewarding myself after a long day. It didn't feel like I had to read it because I had to read it. I felt like I had to read it because I wanted to read it. So I guess choosing the readings, that was one of those experiences that I guess I really enjoyed, because then reading didn't feel like a chore.
Well, and I think that's a great point. It's not just like the reading isn't a chore, the collaging digitally or hopefully in our class, doing it with actual magazines and tangible physical pieces doesn't feel like the same type of work, even though it's work, because you chose it. Because in your case, Kaitlyn, you got to choose which of the readings to focus on. And you even, it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, got to choose what type of creative project you wanted to do in that moment, right? And Isai, you're talking about like in that class, you all voted. And so maybe everybody didn't get their top choice, but we were going with the majority, and it was because people were excited to read it because they'd picked it, it made our classroom discussions more dynamic as well. Excellent. So I think that's a good tip for people who are considering taking classes in Black and Latino Studies, that sometimes some of the work that we do, you get a say in, and so it feels like you have more ownership over it. What would you say to students who identify as Black or Latina who wonder if or why they should even take Black and Latino Studies classes? Like, what new things have you learned about your own or other Black and Latinx communities?
I think if you're deciding on picking a Latino or BLS major, minor, I think you should really think about yourself. It's important to learn more about your past and more about your culture. And these classes basically do that for you. You get to learn about things that you never knew before. For example, honestly, I'm Dominican. I wish there were more like Dominican like base classes.
Yeah.
I really wish. I would love to learn more about the Dominican history. But it's okay. Most of the countries in the Caribbean are like, they have similar histories with the DR, especially with like slavery and things like that. So if you want to learn more about your past and your culture, I think it's a great opportunity. And we don't really see Latino classes or BLS classes being taught. So it's perfect that now there's an opportunity for you to learn more.
Okay. Isai, what would you say to students who are like, but I am Black, but I am Latino. Why should I bother taking these classes?
I would say that you probably don't really know much about yourself, because in these courses, you learn a lot about like the culture, challenges and struggles that people have had to endure, people who had to rise up to stand up to these kinds of challenges. You just learn about these things and you're left in shock. And it just shows how empowerment is a crucial tool for advancement, not just for Black and Latino people, but for everybody. And so I would say, like, just give it a shot, and you'd learn a lot. Like for me, when we learned about Central America, I was honestly like impressed, and I would like go to my dad after school and tell him about it, because he's Guatemalan, and he'd be like, wow, like he would be surprised, and he would tell me that he knows a lot. But when I would go to that class, he'd be surprised and like, oh, your professor must know a lot about this stuff. Yeah. So.
I think that there is something to be said for that, right? It's like we think we know our history and our cultures, and there's still always something more that we can learn and take away from them. My next question is, how do you plan on incorporating your experiences with your BLS classes into your future? We start with you, Isai, this time. I'll give Kaitlyn a break from going first.
I'm a psychology major, and I guess my dream would be to get my PsyD in clinical psychology, and hopefully one day have my own private practice. But for now, my dream would probably be work in a hospital, and what I would use the information knowledge would be to encourage these communities to get into therapy, because I would say that especially with Latino communities, therapy is seen as something that is not taken seriously. And I would think of it from different aspects. Number one, I would probably say religion is a big factor. And I want to preface by saying that I also am a Christian. So it's conflicting because I know people who see mental illness as bad spirits, or they see it as demons. And so I kind of want to tear that misconception apart and let people know that mental illness is a real thing that has consequences if it's not treated appropriately. Mm-hmm. And aside from that, I would also say that, especially for Latinos, males, especially the machismo regarding that they need to be tough, that they need to, I guess, hide their emotions. And I would say that is outdated, that everybody, if they need help, they should go seek it, and they shouldn't feel embarrassed, and they shouldn't feel as if they're weak for wanting help. So I guess that would be my long-term goal, would be to help the community realize that therapy is a tool.
And I think what's great about studying Latino studies courses that you've taken is that it gives you this insight, right? You spoke specifically about taking the Latinas course, and just to blow up your spot a little bit, you were the only man in that class. There were 12 Latino women in that class, and then you. And it showed that just because you might not identify as what the course is about doesn't mean that you can't learn from it, right? And I think you took that to heart and really, really showed that through the work that you did in the class. And having those sensitivities to understanding, this is the stigma in the community. So when I'm trying to help you with mental health issues, I will be sure to acknowledge that and not just assume that you think a certain way, right? Kaitlyn, and you don't have to have a buttoned up idea of that.
Yeah, I haven't really thought far out with what I want to do, but with the skill that I could definitely use by taking these BLS LTS classes is kind of fact checking people. So if I see that most Latino countries or people, they don't know their history, I can tell them about it, you know? Mm-hmm. And I feel that's very important because most people don't really know their history. Or if not, it's they have the misconception of what happened for that historical event. So by learning of what happened and in these Latino studies, I can basically help them.
And so even just having that confidence to be okay, when this subject comes up, I am going to know what I'm talking about.
Right.
All right. So my last question is, what else would you say to students who are considering taking classes in Black and Latino Studies? What do you wish they knew about the department and the classes?
I think you guys should take it. You should give it a chance. All the professors are very nice and they're very knowledgeable with what they learn, what they teach. And it's definitely something that's fun, engaging, and you'll be wanting more after. You'll definitely be wanting more after.
I love that. Isai?
I would definitely agree. The professors, they know what they're talking about. They know their content. Also, one thing is that you can see that they're really passionate about what they do. And I guess that's something really important for students is when you see a professor who is passionate about what they do, it makes you eager to learn more because you get to see the professor share their knowledge to you. I would say give it a shot. Give it a shot, even if at first it doesn't look eye-catching. Give it a shot, and I promise you'll be left in a state of wow. I wish I did this earlier. So
Yeah. Well, I thank you both for all the things that you've said about the department. I hope this really encourages other students to sign up for classes and just, like you said, give it a shot. For all the students out there listening, registration is upon us very shortly. And we want this episode to be something that encourages you when you're looking for an elective to fill your spot, or if you're a Zicklin major and you need that liberal arts minor. Think about Black and Latino studies. We have a lot to offer, and there's a lot of ways in which it can intersect with the other things that you're studying. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And in this second interview, I'm speaking with student Derek Fernandez, and he's going to share a little bit about his experiences in Black and Latino studies. We'll get to know a little bit about him, why he chose BLS, and maybe ask a little bit about how BLS might play a role in his future. So, Derek, welcome.
Hi.
Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your major, your minor, when you anticipate graduating?
Gotcha. Yeah. So my major is communications here at Baruch with a minor in Black Latino Studies. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, California, and have been going to school for quite some time now. I started off at San Francisco State, which was, from my understanding, the founding university that started ethnic studies as a major. And through my curriculum there at the university, I was able to take certain elective classes that counted towards my degree that I necessarily didn't anticipate taking, but I found really interesting and fascinating. So when coming to Baruch College and transferring and trying to declare a minor, it was really nice seeing that Black Latino Studies was offered as a minor here. And I felt that I can use my prior class knowledge from, my ethnic studies through my education at San Francisco State. It'd be nice to apply them to here at Baruch College, and honestly, it's been a blessing. I really love Black Latino Studies as a minor, and I think it's really important for not just myself, but anyone else who's even curious about it.
That's awesome. I think that's really funny because when Kaitlyn was mentioning that her major is Black and Latino Studies and her minor is communication, so seeing that those can be flipped and still work in conversation with one another is great. Okay, you said it was great, but I wonder if you could elaborate a little more on what it was like when you learned that Black and Latino Studies was something that you could minor in.
I think growing up as a person myself in Los Angeles, my culture of being Mexican is so abundant within my community where I didn't really feel I didn't feel an urge to exactly learn about my background. And I kind of just felt like, everybody else, it wasn't that I didn't necessarily care for it. It's just that it was such a norm around me when growing up. And so when moving to New York City now, such a big melting pot of a city, and being exposed to other Latino communities and Black communities, it was kind of interesting to kind of have this minor there to learn more about, other people of color background. And I was kind of getting the better understanding of, shared experiences through different Black and brown communities. And it was so amazing because now, especially in New York City, there's, especially with like the borough system where there's little communities that are built for certain minorities in black and brown communities. Having more education on it and kind of learn the shared experiences, I gained a more prideful feeling in my heart about being Mexican because I felt like, despite us coming from different regions of the earth, we still have this kind of love and shared history, especially in this country. A lot of it coming from, shared discrimination and, shared resistance towards the system that was built against us from long ago and persevering through all that, hardship. It's nice to see that, we can all kind of sit here now all together and, share these experiences, but still have our own little differences within our own, which is really nice too.
Yeah. So it sounds like coming here kind of opened your experiences up beyond just like living as a Mexican American Chicano person to understanding more in depth about these other communities, seeing that there is overlap, but also continuing to acknowledge that you are each your own individual cultures and that there's a lot more to it. I guess I'm curious, what BLS or LTS classes have you taken here at Baruch? Because you said you were a transfer student, so I imagine some coursework may have been done before you got here, or no?
Yeah, a good amount of coursework was taken at San Francisco State. One of the first classes I do remember taking at SFSU was Black journalism.
Okay.
I think the one that left the biggest impression on me was African American families in the United States. It was a elective taken at SFSU, and it kind of gave me an insight of a different kind of cultures, experiences growing up in the United States, and it was really interesting. And I remember, I think I may have taken a Latino studies class also at SFSU as well.
Okay.
And so at SFSU, though, I never really thought about minoring in anything. I just focused on...
You were just taking classes?
Mm-hmm. as a young adult does, you're just trying to find yourself and, experience the whole college system. And so coming to Baruch, I realized that, it's, encouraged, if not required, to have a minor here. And I thought, what better way to do it than, go into something that I've always been curious about.
So is the only class that you took here at Baruch the capstone course then?
I took the capstone, and then I took Black literature with Dr. Robles.
Oh, okay. Would you tell us a little bit about some of the experiences that you've had in the classes here at Baruch, right? Anything that really stands out to you in terms of maybe excursions, guest speakers, experiential or hands-on learning, or projects, things like that?
Mm-hmm. So from the capstone course, I really enjoyed some of the field trips we've taken in the class, particularly two are the archives at Hunter College. And I believe we went to Harlem over there for the archives, for the Puerto Rican archives.
Yeah, El Centro. For anybody who's not familiar, CUNY has a Puerto Rican studies archives called El Centro, and the Center for Puerto Rican Studies, I think, is the full name. And yeah, we took a trip there. So tell us a little bit about that.
It was amazing. It was actually one of my first times understanding what an actual archive was. And, the Puerto Rican community is very abundant in New York City. And so going to this archive and going through these, various documents with rallies, or even just, small parades or parties for within the community, it was really interesting to see that and kind of be exposed to that. And it was really cool because I really enjoyed, again, learning about another community's culture and their background and what they do. And, seeing everything from, something casual to maybe it could be a photo of people hanging outside for some kind of festival to something, more serious where, maybe a protest rally. That was really great. And another field trip that we went on in the capstone was to Theater Latte. Latea.
Yeah.
There we go. Mm-hmm. I had a really good time going to that little small theater, and what it stood for the community. I'm a really big fan of the arts. I love playing music. I love being immersed in other various arts, and so seeing something built by the community for the community is always nice to see. And I loved the seminar there that we had, and it was really interesting to see.
Well, and for everyone listening too, at the end of the year, we'll be having our Black and Latino Studies end of year celebration at Teatro Latea. That community party will be taking place on May 5th, so Cinco de Mayo, from 6 to 9 p.m. at Teatro Latea. And we welcome anybody who's taken Black and Latino Studies classes to come out and join us, but also those of you who might be, kind of curious as to what we have to offer. And friends are also welcome, family members. I had one of the students in the capstone brought her mom one year, so that was really great. What would you say to students who identify as Black or Latina who wonder, well, why should I even take Black and Latino Studies classes? I am that. What do I need to take classes on that for?
For anyone, maybe someone who's an undeclared major or an undeclared minor, and you're looking for something to do, and maybe Black Latino Studies, crosses your ears, and you kind of you pick it up. I think it's important to take because, despite maybe knowing yourself really well and knowing your own community very well, taking Black Latino Studies as a major or minor opens so many opportunities for you to be immersed in other various cultures that share similar values, similar cultural beliefs, and similar upbringings to what you have. And I think with that, it allows you to really connect with others in different communities and, expand your horizon tremendously. And you can take that knowledge with you, all over the world, honestly, whether you're Black and, you maybe don't know much about Latino communities or vice versa, or maybe even as, being a part of the Black community or
Or both.
Or both, yeah. Like I said, I grew up Mexican American, and Los Angeles is primarily Mexican, but being dropped here in New York City now, I feel like I have such a better understanding for friends and, loved ones that I have made here who come from a different background, whether, they're coming from the Caribbean or, maybe they're coming from South America. This minor has really allowed me to feel more connected with them and understanding of their culture. And I feel like as someone who does value human relationships, I really enjoy that.
And Derek, you mentioned, taking what you learned from here around the world with you. So how do you plan on incorporating your experiences with the minor into your future? Maybe it's career related or grad school or even just as part of your community.
So right now, I currently work in the hospitality industry, and hospitality is something I take, a lot of pride in. I really love it. There's so many different backgrounds of chefs and owners who, come from different walks of life. And so with my degree of communication, I really want to get into some sort of public relations and also put in my Black Latino Studies minor in there to help uplift any kind of brown or Black businesses that might need some, public relations and help with, exposure, maybe coordinating events. I think the New York City hospitality scene is so abundant with so many under-promoted businesses that can use just a little bit of help exposure and help them take off. As someone who loves to eat, I'm sure a lot of people out there love to also eat and, diverse themselves in various cuisines. I think with my minor, I would love to work with any kind of Black and brown communities to, uplift their hospitality scene, whether it be, a local bar or, local restaurant, tapas, whatever.
Yeah, it's great to have that sort of in the back of your mind, to put those two pieces of your life together. And my final question is just, what do you wish students who are, maybe thinking about taking BLS courses, what do you wish that they knew about the department and the classes?
I mean, I've only taken 2 classes here at Baruch College, and even with those 2 classes, the department has been so lovely. They've been very helpful. I feel like they're very caring, and they've really showed an effort to get me in. I remember when I finally declared my BLS minor, I just missed the deadline to sign up for the capstone, and the head of department, they helped me, squeeze in for that capstone, and it really changed my life, and I really love the class a lot. And I can tell that everyone in the department really cares about what they teach. I wish anyone else to just at least give it a try. Maybe it will not be your cup of tea, but you'd be surprised. I think it's a really awesome major or minor, whatever path you take to, get into and help broaden your horizon and your understanding of the world.
Well, thank you very much, Derek, for joining me today. I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with us.
Of course.
And congratulations on your upcoming graduation.
Thank you so much.